This is an interesting Monday. I think we should just launch right in.
Yeah, let's do that. And I want to hear from you first, Chris. Tell us, what was your response to this? And also, you know a ton of people within the industry. What has the response in the industry been? And have you noticed any kind of I don't know, difference between the response in the industry and the response among those actually watching Disney's content?
Well, I think more people were concerned about the Elton John concert last night. So I haven't really heard much industry reaction yet, but uh, I don't think this changes much of anything. I think this is, you know, this is a very safe choice to go back to Iger. I think we see the mistakes that kind of got them to where they are now, and I think Chapek being ousted, that's a huge surprise. It shows no one is really untouchable, especially in light of failure. Um, uh, we were having such an interesting conversation before we even went live. I wish we could have recorded that, but the main thing is, and it's there's an article in Bounding into Comics that Jack Posobiec tweeted out. That's how it got my attention, and just talking about like the feminization of brands, that this was a choice, and this was a choice that was made, under Iger, right? Is to take a traditionally, male, a young boy and male brand, Star Wars, and completely feminize it. The Force is female, and we've seen that happen. Phase 4 has just been the quote transition to feminizing the, mostly what was a male brand Marvel. I don't see any of this changing. I actually see almost nothing changing under Iger, rather than maybe the board will be, taking less Malox. I saw a Malox reference in Paul's video, which I thought was very funny. Malox and vodka. That combination never come to mind, which I recommend checking
I've
out.
seen it. I've seen it being drunk.
I've
seen it.
But no, I'm one. I think it's encouraging, that Chapek is gone. But two, like, what's going to change? Does anyone really believe that under Iger anything will change? I know that he had something of a falling out with Kathleen Kennedy, but does that mean he's going to come in and clean house? He should. Let me just give an example here. I don't think anything's going to change because you're not going to be able to fire enough people to exact change. Currently on Twitter, Elon Musk is teaching a masterclass in how to change the culture at your company. First, he cut the staff in half. Then he gave a choice: work hard or you have the choice to leave the company. And it's interesting. There was a photo, Lauren Chen. I don't know how she got it or whatever, but it's a photo of the staff before Elon and then after Elon. And you see it's a very different looking staff, right? Probably more diverse after Elon, I will say that. But
Certainly, where opinion and thought is concerned.
right, exactly. So Elon is really teaching a master class. How do you get rid of these people? You give them the choice to leave. You give them the choice. That way you're not responsible, right? Like, he has been doing, in my opinion, just as someone who's been a small business owner since I was a teenager, since I was a kid, I have been an entrepreneur in some form, owning a small business. And, I've had good times, I've had bad times, and I've had to make tough choices. So whenever I see like someone like Elon being attacked for like just making choices of, I want to keep my company in business and make it profitable, I feel like it's all coming from people who've never run a business, people who've only worked in the corporate space. And you yourself, Andre and Tom, and culture, WDW, you're all entrepreneurs, right? You have small businesses, YouTube channels that you have to work hard and pivot, make changes and whatnot. I have worked for big companies in the past, but my last experience at a tech company, which ended in 2018, was so bad, I vowed never to work for a company that was big enough to have a human resources department, because you see how that kind of, and now there are all sorts of useless departments at corporations. useless. HR being one of them, and among others. I'll just say.
You can't scale a large corporation without HR, though.
Correct. Yes, HR departments are necessary to keep the company legally protected against lawsuits. That is why departments exist. That's precisely why they exist. But
that is exactly right. There's just before we continue, there's some who are of the mistaken belief that HR is the advocates of the employees. No, that's what they want you to believe. The real purpose of the HR is to protect the company from the employees when they need to fire them, abuse them, give them unpaid overtime, stuff like that. That's the real purpose of HR.
Well, let me mention one other purpose, or not purpose, but sideline, is that we've done a lot of work for HR within large Fortune 500 companies. Many of the people who run them have massive egos and demand to be at the table when each year's business plan is created. And I've been in meetings where the head of HR was screaming not at me, but just sort of in general, because the board decided not to include them. A lot of HR thinks they're running the company because they're supplying the bodies.
Yeah.
That execute on the, so this is another side topic. I didn't mean to go there, but I'm telling you, HR is pretty toxic.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I've had many interactions with HR that none were positive. It's always get that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. It's like, oh, I have to have an HR conversation, and it's so funny because
I hope you haven't had that feeling too often.
Just enough to know that I don't like it, but also it's also one of those things whenever you have a conversation with someone in HR department, you hear the way they speak so succinctly and carefully, like it's practiced, like they went to some seminar or symposium to be coached on how to have these difficult conversations. Yeah,
although it's an insulator, and as someone who's had up to 15 employees at any one time, my most feared and hated sentence of 5 words were, do you have a minute?
You're right. Do you have a minute? No, the worst. But no, look, I think that, like, if you look at what Elon Musk is doing, he is a siege. And also, like, Paul, when you work within a big corporation, how hard it is to kind of like, it's like, doing a 180 in a battleship on rough seas. It's
called culture eats plans.
Right. So it's so difficult to make those kind of changes, which is why I've always preferred being entrepreneurial and being able to to bring in people that kind of fit the culture of what I'm trying to do. But in any case, I've just been watching very carefully Elon Musk. And what I love is that the fact that he's being so criticized by people that know nothing. Correct. I love it. The guy's a multi-billionaire, and people that know nothing are criticizing him as if they would make better decisions. Fuck those people. They're morons.
Yeah, there's comments like, where's the women in the picture?
They chose not to be there.
There's 3. There's actually 3 in the picture, but people are complaining externally who don't work for the company and want to somehow exert some kind of social pressure on Musk that to do the right thing, he should be having. I mean, they're alluding to the fact that there should be more women there. Well, no, Musk is trying to right this ship. That's what he's trying to do.
Well, let's get real though. None of that stuff is authentic, because the same people who are complaining about the Twitter situation saying, but Elon's making them work. No, we don't want Twitter employees to have to work. Those are the same people who, when you bring up the Uyghurs and the concentration camps in China, and you bring up the fact that nearly all of our stuff is made by slave labor, they say, shut up. I don't want to talk about that. So it's all inauthentic. It's all just power trips, right? It's whatever you need to use in order to push your own ideology, your own camp. That's all that is.
We're not going to get that at Disney, is the bottom line.
Yes, Disney is too big to make that kind of change.
Well, that's why I think we got here. Yeah, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's too big. We're not. And Iger, you could not have had a safer choice, right? And what's what is he going to do any different than what he did before? Did he learn lessons? Did he look back and go, I should have fired Fauci? I mean, sorry, I was thinking of something else. You know what I mean? Like, is he going to look back and go, well, how am I going to manage things? I should have fired Kathleen Kennedy after that first Star Wars movie when she didn't reunite Han, Luke, and Leia. And who made that choice? Also, Bob Iger personally is the one who made the choice to base the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge theme park on the sequel trilogy. That was he made that choice.
Yeah, there was on Kathleen Kennedy's recommendation, but he greenlit it.
Yes. So look, he's ultimately accountable. So
we have to remember he's the guy who took Star Wars away from her too. So
well, but all I'm saying is that was a terrible choice. Nobody cares in those lands. You could have had Princess Leia, someone in a Princess Leia outfit walking around doing pictures, Darth Vader. Oh. You could have had someone dressed as Obi-Wan from the prequels. Nobody cares. Okay. The land is it's just Star Wars land. It's everything you love about Star Wars. You like the sequels, the prequels, the original trilogy, whatever you like. It's a mashup. Nobody cares about like that. This is a real place because they did a terrible job at that. They should have modeled it after the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which is, in my mind, probably the best new theme park like ever developed of the modern theme parks ever, just because it really does put you in that world. They did everything nearly perfectly. If you've especially been to the one in Florida, it's fantastic. So, but the Galaxy's Edge has been a colossal failure. And also, look, I got a dozen roses for you. Go and look at the Star Wars merch that is sitting there collecting dust on shelves. Although what's funny is the stuff that does sell is like Black Series Lando from the original trilogy, like stuff that's like old school Star Wars. That stuff sells, right? But new Star Wars toys, nobody wants them. Nobody cares. They failed to recognize, one, that women are not going to care about Star Wars toys for the most part. And secondly, kids' habits of buying toys is very different. They don't buy tactile, physical action figures, toys that they assemble. Kids are more into apps. They're into apps. They're in their Black Mirrors. They're parented by weak-willed parents that give them cell phones before they get into middle school, and it's really screwed up a generation of kids. I.e., I'm citing as an example TikTok. That is a sea of mental illness. So not recognizing what's happening in the culture, they didn't make the Star Wars movie everyone wanted to see, which is, let's see what Han, Leia, and Luke are up to now, and maybe introduce us to some new characters that would be great. But the whole Star Wars as a franchise is built on those three characters, the love for those three characters. And there's so much other things to love: Chewbacca, Lando, the Millennium Falcon, on and on and on. Darth Vader, Yeah. They should have made a Darth Vader Disney Plus series, and he should have been fucking evil.